Welcome back. Our I-Team has been looking into police wearing body cameras, specifically how the Maine State Police just launched their own program, which has been years in the making.
That's right. Here to dive further into the story is the I-Team's Dan Lampariello. Dan, what did it take to get this point? And what does the agency hope to accomplish by rolling these out?
The biggest thing, I think, the two words, transparency, accountability. Body cameras have been a movement in law enforcement for decades now. The technology's really evolved. And to have Maine's largest police agency now have them, it was a big accomplishment for them, but it did take a long time. They got the funding for this almost 2 years ago, but there's a lot of logistics that go into putting a technology like this out to 160 plus troopers across the state.
Yeah, I imagine it's a big undertaking compared to maybe smaller departments.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, some that have
money and fewer officers.
Exactly. So there was a lot of money to not only buy the technology, but then a lot of people don't realize video takes a lot of storage. So you have to buy all the servers and all of the back-end equipment to store the gigs and gigs and gigs of video, because they have to retain this video for a certain amount of time so that if there's some type of investigation that needs to happen, you know, those can take upwards of a year. So they need that video with them there.
And we want to get as many law enforcement agencies on board with this, whether it's county sheriffs, state police, local police departments too. It'd be nice to have 100%, but I don't know if we're ever going to get that.
I know, and let's hear from the colonel real quick, and we'll talk a little bit about after we hear from him about why they really wanted to get this program, about how many other departments in the state are actually on board with this. But Colonel Ross, the head of the Maine State Police, spoke with us about why they really wanted to get ahead of this and make sure they launch this program for, again, the largest police agency in the state.
But I think the value of it, how it protects the agency, how it protects the public, how it protects the individual officers, that's what's important here.
So let's talk a little bit about that report released earlier this week and how that comes into play here.
So the Maine Analysis Center, the Maine Statistical Analysis Center, they're at USM, and they did a year-long study that basically did a survey to all 150 police departments across the state. They heard back from about 107 of them, and of those, 70% said they now have body cameras, and that is up from 2 years ago when they did the first survey. 21% or so said that they're contemplating getting body-worn cameras, and about 8% of agencies says they're not contemplating right now.
Is that because of money? Is the big reason? I just think they don't need them.
You hit it right on the head. Money is the biggest reason the study found why people aren't getting, or smaller departments aren't getting this. For a big department, you know, that cost maybe can be absorbed in their budget, but for a small department that may have like 5 officers, the amount of money the startup costs is a lot. They say the average department to start is about $10,000, and then you have to have the annual recurring costs that go with it.
And a lot of these departments are just struggling to get officers. You know, that's what they're kind of focused on right now.
Recruitment is the big thing right now. So some departments, this may be on the back burner. But you know, there is a reason why these departments want to, and you heard the colonel say it, get these, because it helps protect the officer, it helps protect the public, and it helps add for, you know, more trust on both sides of this issue.
I mean, is there any negative with a body cam? It just seems like there's all positives, right? I mean, to keep everybody accountable, right?
That's what it seems like. You know, it's tough. There are differing opinions on both sides. Every agency, you know, has something that's going to help them or hurt them, and they all have their own opinions on that. But obviously cost is the biggest burden here, and I want the author of the report here to kind of explain why that is.
For a larger department, that's not a huge barrier, but for smaller departments, that's a significant outlay. And then there's also ongoing costs, because body-worn cameras generate a lot of video, and you need to store that video at least for a certain period of time.
So what are some of the recommendations from this report?
So the biggest thing they found out was a lot of departments have very different policies for how these body cameras are working within their department. So they found a lot of inconsistencies across the state, large departments, small departments, with how long they keep that video, how they respond to public records requests from the media or the public to get that video, even how often they need to turn the camera on, or situations that they shouldn't have the camera on. There were a lot of inconsistencies. So they recommended the state issue formal guidance for every department in the state to follow.
And that's a lot to remember as an officer. When do I turn it on? When do I turn it off?
Yeah.
I mean,
because there are situations
yes.
where you shouldn't have it on. There are privacy concerns when, say, you maybe go into an emergency room in a hospital and there are maybe HIPAA violations and those type of things. So there are reasons not to have the camera on. But in the majority of factors, like the state police, for instance, they get around part of this that you don't always have to remember to click it because it goes on when you activate your lights and siren. So the officer does not have to remember to click it on. They have safeguards in place to make sure it's recording when it should be.
Seems like there's a lot more to come,
Yeah.
you know, with this, and other departments, you know, pursuing this, and will they get help with funding, et cetera. I urge people to watch your full piece. Is it on our website?
It's on our website right now. It's on the front page right now. It's an interesting story. You know, the video itself has a lot of uses, and I think the transparency and accountability side of this is what it all comes back to.
And the goal one day is to have 100% of the agencies out there with them.
Absolutely. The author of the report said it may take some time to get there. You're always going to have holdouts, but he believes the research shows we're closer than ever.
Will they do this report every year, or how often?
They say they're going to keep tracking
Okay.
it. I know our team is going to keep
yeah.
tracking it. We have our own spreadsheet that we've been
Okay.
tracking the use across the state. It's something that we're going to continue to follow.
All right, more to come. Dan, thank you so much.